Microsoft is already working on Windows 10's 20H1 update. Expected sometime around May 2020, this is Windows 10 version 2004. It's much bigger than Windows 10's November 2019 update, but still feels like a collection of useful improvements.
More control over optional updates. Windows Update automatically installs many updates, but some updates are optional. Now, there's a new screen that shows all these updates in one place. Hardware driver updates, big feature updates like 20H1 itself, and monthly non-security quality updates like the C&D updates will appear here. To find this screen after updating to 20H1, head to Settings Update and Security Windows Update View Optional Updates. You can then choose which updates you might want to install. Windows Update will still automatically install many hardware driver updates, but sometimes there are additional updates that may not automatically be installed. In the past, you had to dig through the device manager and select a specific device to update. Now, all optional hardware driver updates will appear on this screen. Microsoft says, if you're having a problem, one of those optional drivers might help.
A new Cortana experience, with typing. Cortana's new conversational interface on Windows 10. Microsoft is advertising a new Cortana experience with a brand new chat-based UI. You can now type queries to Cortana rather than say them out loud. The history of your conversation with Cortana will appear as if it was a chat window, so you can see the results of recent queries just by opening Cortana from the taskbar. The Cortana panel is now a more normal window, too. You can resize it and move it around on your desktop by dragging the title bar, just like other windows. It supports both Windows 10's light and dark themes, too. Beyond the new design, Microsoft says it has updated Cortana with new speech and language models as well as significantly improved performance of the voice assistant. And, soon, Microsoft says you'll be able to use Cortana in any of its supported languages, even if your Windows operating system is set to use a display language Cortana doesn't support. Microsoft has temporarily removed Cortana features like jokes, timers, and Bing Instant Answers. It's focusing on a productivity-based feature for now.
Cloud download for reinstalling Windows. The cloud download option for resetting, or reinstalling, Windows 10. Windows 10 has new cloud download option you can use when resetting your PC to a default Windows system. When you head to Settings Update and Security Recovery and choose to reset your PC and remove everything, you can now tell Windows to use cloud download. Rather than reinstalling Windows 10 from the files on your local system, Windows will download the most up-to-date version of Windows 10 and install it on your system. This will save time on updates afterward. Previously, the only way to do this was to either update Windows 10 before resetting your system or by creating new Windows 10 installation media. Windows 10's reset feature has become much more powerful. Bandwidth limits for Windows Update. Setting a download and upload limit in Mbps for Windows 10's updates. The Settings app now gives you more control over how much bandwidth is used for downloading Windows updates. In current versions of Windows, you can set a bandwidth limit as a percentage of your bandwidth. Windows 10 20H1 will let you set a precise absolute bandwidth limit in Mbps for more accurate throttling of downloaded updates. This option was previously available in Group Policy but is now available to everyone in Settings. To find the update bandwidth limiting options on any version of Windows 10, head to Settings Update and Security Delivery Optimization Advanced Options.
WSL2 with a Linux kernel. Linux's Tux mascot on Windows 10. Larry Ewing. The new Windows subsystem for Linux, WSL, is probably the most important feature in Windows 10 20H1. This is WSL version 2, and it's even more powerful than the first version. WSL2 uses a real Linux kernel to provide an even more powerful, more full-featured Linux environment on Windows 10. Microsoft will build its own Linux kernel and ship it with WSL2, and that Linux kernel will be updated through Windows Update. You can also build your own Linux kernel and make Windows 10 use it. You don't have to think about any of this, though. WSL2 has the same user experience as WSL1 and will just work without any extra configuration. WSL2 promises dramatic file system performance increases and full system call compatibility. That compatibility means support for technologies like Docker that wouldn't run on the original WSL1. Beyond that, Microsoft has added support for ARM64 devices. In other words, WSL now works in Windows on ARM PCs. The WSL release notes say this will only work if your CPU firmware supports virtualization. More configuration options are available, too. For example, you can set a Linux distribution's default user account in its /etc/wsl.conference file.
A faster Windows search experience. Windows 10's indexing settings. Windows 10's May 2019 update fixed Start menu search. Microsoft did this by taking advantage of the old Windows Search Indexer, which runs in the background and scans your PC's files to create a search database. Microsoft asked why insiders were turning off the Search Indexer and received three main areas to improve: excessive disk and CPU usage, general performance issues, and low perceived value of the indexer. Microsoft says it's now detecting peak usage times so it can better optimize when the indexer runs. For example, it won't run when gaming mode is on, if power saving mode is on, if low power mode is on, when CPU usage is about 80%, when disk usage is above 70%, or when the battery is below 50%. Windows Search will get faster on developer PCs by default, too. The Windows Search Indexer will now exclude common developer folders, such as Git, HG, SVN, NuGet, and more by default. Performance will improve while compiling and synchronizing code.
Disk type in the Task Manager. Disk type shown on the Task Manager's Performance tab in Windows 10. Windows 10's Task Manager now displays your disk type, SSD or HDD. This makes it easier to see what hardware is in your computer, and it can help you tell which disk is which if you have multiple disks in your system. This information is displayed on the Performance tab. Open the Task Manager, Ctrl+Shift+Escape, and click More Details to find it. GPU temperature in the Task Manager. GPU temperature in Windows 10's Task Manager. Microsoft. That's not the only new feature the Task Manager is getting. The Task Manager's Performance tab will also display your GPU temperature, too. Assuming you have a graphics card with a new enough driver, it must support the WDDM 2.4 driver model. You'll find this information on your GPU's status page under the Performance tab, too. This also only works with dedicated graphics cards, not integrated or onboard GPUs. This is just the latest GPU monitoring feature in the Task Manager. Previous updates added features like per-process GPU usage, overall GPU usage display, graphics driver version information, graphics memory usage, and hardware details.
A new tablet experience. Windows 10's new tablet mode. Microsoft. Windows 10 has a classic desktop mode and a Windows 8 style tablet mode that even hides your taskbar icons by default. That's not ideal for many people, so 20H1 is adding a new in-between tablet experience. When you're using a 2-inch-1 PC with a touchscreen, and you have no keyboard or mouse connected, it can make the traditional desktop interface a bit easier to use. For example, the taskbar icons will be further apart. File Explorer will be optimized for touch, and you can use Windows on your desktop. Microsoft says this isn't the replacement for tablet mode, but convertible PCs will no longer automatically enter tablet mode when you remove the keyboard or flip them around. Instead, they render this new touch-optimized experience. Microsoft is backing off on tablet mode on 2-inch-1 devices and making the classic Windows desktop easier to use on a touchscreen.
FPS in the Xbox Game Bar. FPS counter in Windows 10's Game Bar. Mike Ibarra. Windows 10's new game bar is already more of a full-screen overlay packed with features, including quick volume controls, performance graphs, and even Spotify integration. Now, it's getting better with an FPS counter and achievement overlay. Press Windows plus G to open the game bar while playing a game and you'll see a real-time FPS counter without installing third-party applications like Fraps or activating a game-specific option.
Windows lets you make your device passwordless. Option to make your device passwordless on Windows 10. Microsoft New lets you make your device passwordless with a new option on the Settings Accounts sign-in page. It sounds awesome and futuristic, but really it's just a new setting that requires everyone on your PC sign in with a PIN or another Windows Hello sign-in method like Face or Fingerprint unlock. Safe Mode now works with PIN login, too. If you've set up Windows Hello to sign in with a PIN, you'll be able to use that PIN to sign into your PC after booting into Safe Mode. Previously, Safe Mode made you enter your account's password.
Renaming virtual desktops. Renaming a virtual desktop, with emoji, on Windows 10. Microsoft. Windows 10's virtual desktops, available in the Task View interface that appears when you press Windows plus Tab on your keyboard or click the Task View icon on the taskbar, are getting more configurable. Rather than being stuck with the default names of Desktop 1, Desktop 2, and so on, you can now rename them. Just click the name of each virtual desktop at the top of the Task View interface and type a new name. As Microsoft points out, you can even use emojis in the names. Just press Windows plus period to open the emoji picker and enter an emoji. This emoji panel works in nearly any text field in Windows 10.
Improved network status information. Windows 10 20H1's new network status options. The network status page at Settings Network and Internet Status had been redesigned. It now shows all the network interfaces you have available at the top of the page. For example, both Wi-Fi and Ethernet will be shown here if you have a PC with both. Microsoft says this new interface will provide more information at a glance about your device's connectivity, combining several pages to give you one clear view of how you are connected to the Internet. Windows will also display your data usage for each interface right on this page, so you don't have to go elsewhere in settings to see how much data you're using.
Built-in support for network cameras. The Camera app's splash screen logo on Windows 10. Windows 10 is getting built-in support for IP-based cameras that send their video feeds over your local network. Traditionally, you needed third-party software to view these camera feeds on Windows 10. With this update, you'll be able to add network-based cameras by heading to Settings, Devices, Bluetooth, and Other Devices. Add Bluetooth or other device. If there's a supported camera on your local network, Windows 10 will find it and you can add it to your system in one click. Once it's added, you can use the built-in Camera app, and other camera apps, to access the network camera. For now, Windows 10 only supports standards-compliant cameras that use OnVIF profile as data you're using.
Better control over restarting apps at sign-in. Choosing whether or not Windows 10 restarts apps. Windows 10 automatically reopens many applications, including Google Chrome, after you restart your PC. There's now a new option that more easily lets you disable this. To find this option, head to Settings, Accounts, Sign-in Options. Under Restart Apps, toggle Automatically Save My Restartable Apps when I sign out and restart them after I sign in if you'd like to turn this off. Previously, this option was somewhat hidden and merged with the Use My Sign-in Info to Automatically Finish My Device option, which read Use My Sign-in Info to automatically finish setting up my device and reopen my apps after an update or restart. These are now two separate options. This feature now works a bit better, too. It now restarts the majority of UWP apps as well as traditional Windows desktop apps.
Disk Cleanup won't delete your Downloads folder. Disk Cleanup showing the Downloads folder on Windows 10's November 2019 update. Microsoft is removing the Downloads folder from the classic Disk Cleanup application. This option was added to Disk Cleanup with the October 2018 update. Critics said that it was too easy to accidentally delete all the files in your Downloads folder, especially if you're an experienced user who didn't realize that option had been added to Disk Cleanup. With this update, the Downloads folder vanishes from Disk Cleanup. You can still use Disk Cleanup to empty your recycle bin, delete temporary files, remove old Windows installations, and everything else, but the short-lived Downloads option vanishes. The option to clean up your Downloads folder lives on in StorageSense, available at Settings System Storage. Configure StorageSense or run it now. It's just gone from the classic Disk Cleanup interface. A header in Windows 10 Settings app.
A header in Windows 10's Settings app. The new banner with your user account picture in the Settings app on Windows 10. Microsoft had been experimenting with the banner in the Settings application for a while, and it's back in 20H1 Insider builds. The new banner appears at the top of the home screen in the Settings window, showing your picture, name, and a link to manage your Microsoft account online. It offers quick links to your OneDrive and Windows Update settings and information about their status. Thankfully, Microsoft hasn't included advertising for Microsoft Rewards, formerly Bing Rewards, here this time.
Quick searches in Search Home. Quick searches in Windows 10's Search Home panel. Microsoft. When you open the Search Home panel by clicking the search box on the taskbar, you'll see new quick searches at the bottom, giving you one-click access to things like the weather, top news, and new movies. Bluetooth Swift Pair improvements. A Bluetooth Swift Pair notification on Windows 10's desktop. Microsoft. Microsoft is improving Windows 10's quicker Bluetooth pairing experience, which was previously called Quick Pair and is now apparently called Swift Pair. When you have a supported device in pairing mode nearby, you'll see a notification that prompts you to go through pairing. This was added to Windows 10's April 2018 update. Now, it's been further streamlined. The entire pairing process is performed through Windows 10's notifications with no need to open the Settings app, and one fewer notification is shown. There's a dismiss button to close the notification if you don't want to pair a device, and the notification shows more information about the device's name and type, if possible. This still only works with supported devices like Microsoft's Surface keyboards and mice, but it should hopefully come to more devices in the future, making the Bluetooth pairing process quicker for more PC users.
Text cursor indicator. Customizing your text cursor indicator on Windows 10. You can now adjust the size and color of Windows 10's text cursor indicator, that little line that appears to show you where you're typing in an application. To find this option, head to Settings, Ease of Access Text Cursor. Enable the new text cursor indicator, choose a size, and pick a color that's easy for you to see. You can select any custom color you want. If you're interested in this option, you might also want to adjust the size and color of your mouse cursor. Microsoft added this option back in Windows 10's May 2019 update. Drag and drop with your eyes. Eye control interface in Windows 10. Microsoft. Windows 10 has an eye control feature that works with certain specific eye tracking devices. It's an accessibility feature that lets you control your PC just by moving your eyes around. In 20H1, eye tracking gets even more powerful. You can now perform a mouse drag and drop action just by moving your eyes around.
Language settings improvements. New language option icons in Windows 10 Settings app. Windows 10's language settings page at Settings Time and Language has been reorganized to be easier to use and understand. For example, it now shows you the default selected languages for Windows, apps and websites, your keyboard, speech, and regional settings right at the top of the screen. This update is packed with better support for non-English languages, too. The SwiftKey Touch keyboard's typing intelligence features now support 39 different languages. That means more helpful autocorrect and keyboard text predictions. The improved text prediction even works when you have text prediction enabled for hardware keyboards. Dictation also gets better. Microsoft now supports more languages when using dictation. To use it, press Windows plus H while typing in any text field. Microsoft has done a lot of work on the East Asian Microsoft Input Method Editors, IMEs. There's a new Japanese IME and improvements to the Chinese and Korean IMEs. Other changes. Setting a mouse cursor speed in Windows 10 Settings app. As usual, Windows 10's 20H1 update is packed with smaller tweaks and bug fixes. Here are a few. New DirectX 12 features. Windows 10's 20H1 update currently contains developer previews of DirectX 12 features like DirectX Ray Tracing Tier 1.1, DirectX Mesh Shader, and more. Game developers will eventually be able to take advantage of these to improve their games. More Kamaji. Microsoft has added more Kamaji to Windows 10's emoji panel, which you can open by pressing Windows plus, period, or Windows plus, semicolon. For example, you'll now find underscore in the list. Mouse cursor speed in settings. Windows 10 now lets you set your mouse cursor speed from within the Settings app as Settings device's mouse. Previously, this option was only available in the control panel. Better account picture settings. Windows 10 now makes it easier to set your account picture in Windows and across various Microsoft services. Head to Settings Accounts Your Info to set an account picture. When you set a picture here, Windows will now quickly update it both on your local Windows computer and across various Microsoft services, assuming you're signed into Windows 10 with a Microsoft account. Optional features gets better. The Optional Features page under Settings Apps and Features Optional Features is getting a better interface. You can now select and install multiple features at once, search available features, and sort them in different ways. You can see the date each feature was installed and view the status of feature installation at the top of this page. Wi-Fi warning redesign. Microsoft also says it's changing how open Wi-Fi networks appear in the Wi-Fi list. Windows 10 will no longer display and other people might be able to see info you send over this network warning message before connecting to an open Wi-Fi network, which Microsoft says is confusing. Instead, there's a new icon for secured Wi-Fi networks to more clearly emphasize you should connect to those. Accessibility improvements. Microsoft has also updated the accessibility features with more new options and improvements. For example, there's a new command in Narrator to give a web page summary, Narrator plus S. Install MZix files without side loading. System administrators will find that installing a MZix file no longer requires enabling side loading in settings or via group policy. Previously, installing these required enabling side loading, just like on Android. Now, as long as the MZix file is signed, a Windows 10 system can install it like any other application. Enterprises can still disable this type of side loading via policy settings, but that's no longer the default mode. Windows PowerShell ISE. PowerShell's integrated script editor is now a feature on demand. It remains installed by default, and you can manage it from Settings Apps and Features Optional Features. With so many months left to go, more features may appear in future Windows Insider previews.
Cancelled. Notepad updated through the store. Windows Notepad available for download in the Windows 10 store. In a surprising change, Microsoft announced it would move Notepad to the store back in August. It would now be automatically updated through the store, allowing Microsoft to update Notepad more frequently than once every 6 months. You can uninstall Notepad, too. Notepad would still be installed by default, so not much would change there. Microsoft had been updating Notepad with new features like Unix line ending support and integrated Bing search. Microsoft wanted to update Notepad even more often. That was the originally announced plan. Anyway, Microsoft changed its mind in December and removed Notepad from the store. Nothing has changed with Notepad, for now. On the way, calls in the Your Phone app. Placing a phone call from a Windows 10 PC using an Android phone. Microsoft. Windows 10's Your Phone app will let you make and receive calls from your PC if you have a phone running Android 7 or a newer version of Android. Microsoft had been testing this feature in 20H1 Insider builds, but says it will come to all PCs running Windows 10 19H1, the May 2019 update, or a newer version. You'll get this feature even if you don't upgrade to Windows 10 version 2004. Already here, Online File Search in File Explorer. Windows 10's File Explorer searching online files. This feature first appeared in Windows 10's 20H1 update, but it's already available as part of the November 2019 update. In both versions of Windows 10, File Explorer has a new search experience. When you type in the search box, you'll see a drop-down menu with a list of suggested files. It will also search for files in your OneDrive account online, not just files on your local PC. You can still access the more powerful, classic search experience by pressing Enter. This will allow you to search non-indexed locations, for example,